How good is playing with Play-Doh? As a kid, I used to eat it. Growing up, I'd then make stuff out of it, and now as a teacher, I use it within my classes. Find out how you can use Play-Doh to build relationships with your students after the intro. Hi, my name's Tom Moore. Now normally I love sharing maths activities, but this video is going to be a little bit different. You see, sometimes our students need more. And I'm referring here to the relationship between the teacher and the student, because I truly believe that if we want students to learn maths, we must invest in them as people first. Let's think about this for a second. Schools are special because they're a place where students come together to learn. Now, you can learn anywhere. You could learn at home, you could learn walking from one place to another. But what makes school special is the act of people coming together in the one place to deliberately engage in a learning process. And it's this coming together that really makes the relationships between these people so vital to success. Now, if you think about it, we as teachers have relationships with all of our students. Some of these will come quite easily, whereas others will really have to work at. Now, this activity is perfect for any subject, and I really like to use it in my very first lesson with each of my classes because it's really good at helping to build expectations for what class will look like for the rest of the school year. All you need is Play-Doh. It costs about $2 per tub, or you could just search the internet to find your own recipe and make it yourself. I recommend that you have the Play-Doh out and waiting for students on their desks before they arrive, or at least give it to them as early as possible within the lesson. This helps to build curiosity and really get them engaged from the moment they step into the classroom. The purpose of this activity is to get to know your students a little bit more. So we'll start by getting them to create something that represents themselves. I'll show you something that represents me. So once students have created their piece that represents themselves, get them to come and sit down around in a circle. This is really good because it allows you to make eye contact with every student, but it also gives them the opportunity to connect with each other. Now, I would generally start off by sharing a little bit about myself and what I made. As you can see here, I made something that somewhat resembles a unicycle because I love circus arts. And in fact, I can ride a unicycle and I can also juggle knives. Although not really well apparently. Once you've said your little bit, move on to the person next to you. But we'll use that good old classroom favourite where they have to not only introduce themselves, but also go through everyone else who has said something before them. But here's my secret tip on how to really build relationships with students. And that is, whilst you're going around the circle, make sure you take notes about their names and also what they're interested in, so you can come back to it over and over again throughout the year. For example, if someone likes basketball, you can bring that into some of your lessons. You know, fractions, percentages, decimals, they really open themselves up to shooting hoops and keeping track of how many goals they're actually getting in or what percentages they're scoring. You might also use this to reconnect with some students. It's difficult to get around to every student within a lesson. So I always like to reflect on who I've spoken to and who I've really made an effort connecting with throughout each lesson. If I've missed someone, I'll go away and have a look at what they're interested in so that I can ask them about it in the early stages of the next lesson. This shows that I'm interested in them and that I really care about them as people. As we know, building relationships with students takes more than one lesson. It's important that we use a range of activities such as rich learning tasks and mini lessons to really demonstrate to students that we care about them as learners. I also like to use Joe Bowler's Week of Inspirational Maths as some lessons that I can use to introduce maths to my students within the very first week of our classes. As I mentioned earlier, this activity is great in the early stages of the school year, but it's not only limited to that. If you're struggling to connect with a couple of students, this could be a brilliant way to break down some of those barriers and really get to know your students so that they can start to see you as a person and you can work together to really develop that relationship. Now, this activity isn't just about the Play-Doh, but it is a great opportunity to play with it. You could use any type of activity to do the same thing. You might get students to draw a picture of something they enjoy doing, or you might get them to write a story about it. Both of these things still tell you a little bit more about the students that you can then use to help build those connections with them. So as teachers, let's make school a place where students want to come together to interact with each other and learn from others. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and also share this video with your colleagues. My name's Tom Moore. We'll see you next time.